My name is Keysi Montas, and I will read you my 7 haikus. Yesterday, also, dressed up in snow showers, and he sleeps today. Winter isn't leaving, yet spring, while coming, is not asking permission. Hence, we have the egg. With the cracking of the shell, here comes the chicken. Quiet, quiet morning. 5 just came and went, as I didn't hear my alarm. Very long seconds go by flying, so fast, just like a haiku. Today, finally, this December has come and paid us a visit. Seeing some red leaves on a tree line of maples, it is August, barely. Me, poetry, and particularly haiku, is a way for me to kind of take a photograph of my moment, this moment today, and that will be, I guess, left as a testimony of today's life and seen through my eyes as a bilingual, bicultural individual living a bifurcated life, if you will. Yesterday, also, he dressed up in snow showers, and it sleeps today. So the imagery in this particular haiku is of a slow-flowing brook that gets covered in snow by snowfall. The following day, it might be all frozen, and the brook is now purring or sleeping, if you will. Next haiku says, winter isn't leaving, yet spring, while coming, is not asking permission. And this poem deals with this time of the year, particularly where I am in the northeast of the United States. That time of the year between March and April, like right now, where you have this dance between winter wanting to stay and spring coming, and you have those beautiful days in which trees want to explode, and then you have those days in which it's winter-like. You get snow. We got snow last Friday. We are getting snow tonight, and it's almost the end of April, and it is this where winter doesn't want to go away, but spring is nonetheless coming and is not asking for winter's permission. Hence, we have the egg. With the cracking of the shell, here comes the chicken. This is this very long human question of which came first, which is a philosophical approach to things. And the idea here is that in order for the philosophical discussion to happen, you must have both the chicken, both the egg. Which came first, it all depends, but those 3 things have to happen. Quiet, quiet morning. 5 just came and went, as I didn't hear my alarm. This is about everyday life, and for a person who wakes up really early in the morning every morning for work, and I wake up extra early just so that I could do my writing. It's one of those very, very tired days in which you just don't hear your alarm. It just catches up with you. Very long seconds that go by flying so fast, just like a haiku. Eternal struggle with time, and how time and life are so intertwined, and how something could be so fast as a second, but how that very same second could be so very, very long. The same, I think, is reflected in a haiku. It's such a simple, short form of poetry that it could be fast and disappear, and yet could be so very long and contain so much depth and so much truth, if you will. And you have, again, that dichotomy of something that is short and fast, yet could be long lasting and very, very long. Today, finally, this December has come to pay us a visit. In this poem is the association of December as the season in which winter manifests itself in the form of snow. And this poem deals with one of those Decembers in which we are all waiting for snow and it seems not to come. And then one day, December finally decides to pay us a visit, and it snows, and you wake up and everything is covered in snow. Seeing some red leaves on a tree line of maples, it is August, barely. Again, the passing of time and how one thing is a continuation of the next. Here I am describing a line of maple trees in August, which is dead middle of the summer. Yet you notice that some of them already are beginning to have red leaves, that the leaves are beginning to change, and you are dismayed, but it's only August, but yet autumn has begun to announce itself. I write longhand, always. As I mentioned before, I get up early in the morning, and the first conscious thing that I do in the morning is that I write. I keep a journal. I've been keeping a journal for about 25 years, in which I write every single day. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I write poetry or short stories or essay. I just simply write. And you could ask me what I wrote this morning, and I don't remember. But that is the first process of, and I know that sometimes when writing something, I know that there is a poem there, and I make a mark. And maybe months or years later, I could revisit that journal and extract it. But on the other hand, I always carry a notebook and a pen with me. I feel naked if I don't. And when poetry comes, I sit down and I take it. And sometimes it's just a moment that you see something that you catch, and yet like a photograph, I need to stop what I am doing and write it down. And then, of course, there is a process in which you go back and you read, you correct, you see your mistakes, you refine your imagery, and then you get to a certain point in which you're satisfied with what you have, in which you feel that what you have on paper has indeed do justice to that initial spark. And then at that point, I will consider the poem settled and done. It is important to write poetry as to write anything. It is to read. It is basic, necessary. You cannot do without it. You have to read poetry in order to write poetry. You have to read fiction in order to write fiction. So reading is extremely important, and also be knowledgeable of the format that you choose to study and to practice. You have to know what the rules of the games are in order to be good at the game. Otherwise, you will be foolish. Oh Lord, beautiful question. So reading, and I will recommend people to start poetry reading, to start reading haikus. And there is I will call it certain methodology to it. The first thing is that you want to understand every single word. You have to know the meaning of every single word. Make sure that you do that. The second thing that you want to do is that I think you want to do a reading in silence. You want to read with all of your senses. And what I mean is that when you read this, what do you see? What colors do you see? What shapes do you see? What structures do you see? How many people do you see? How many buildings do you see? How many trees do you see? How much snow do you see? Then what do you feel? And when I say what do you feel, I want you to think about your emotions, and I want you to think about your physical reaction. Do you feel cold? Do you feel warmth? Are you trembling? Are you sweating? Do you feel sad? Do you feel happiness? Do you feel sadness? Do you feel nostalgia? What do you feel? Then what do you hear when you hear this? When I see the red leaves, do I see red? Do I see them moving? What do I hear? Do I hear any noises? Do you hear silence? Do you hear somebody breathing? Do you hear your own breathing? What emotions does it bring to you? Do you feel fear? Anything like that? Ask yourself, have you ever seen or been in a situation like what is being described in this particular poem? Once you internalize that, then I recommend that you do a reading aloud. Read it with everything that you have acquired, with everything that you have sensed, with everything that this poem has given you, then do it loud reading. And I think if you do that three process, that process of those 3 steps, you get the meaning of everything. You place yourself within the poem, reading it in silence, and then you read it aloud. I think you will discover wonders. And I think poetry has the power to do that. Well, I'm going to veer off, and I have to mention the Spanish poet Federico Garcia Lorca. He's been an amazing force to reckon with as a poet, part of the generation of 27 in Spain. And he has an amazing poem called Lament for Ignacio Sanchez Mejia, who was a bullfighter friend of his who got killed in the bullfight ring. And that's a very, very powerful poem. I will do a general one. Please continue to read. Please continue to write. And remember that poetry is the gravy of life.